All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back. And sorry for going late a couple of seconds here. I was reading on some of the comments here, and then I had to turn my furnace off and my water heater off in order for them not to make noise while I'm recording this. So, while we're streaming this. So, thanks so much for coming in here. I was reading also your guys' comments here as well. Yeah, there's a lot of, I would say, fear in the market right now with the Bitcoin miners. And yeah, they haven't been performing like we would like them to have been performing, right? That's understandable, I think, right now, but I think we're still very, very early on. So I have some data for you guys to provide also as to why I think we are early on. And we're getting just into this phase right now where the miners, Bitcoin itself, are going to go parabolic here if history repeats itself, which it has repeated, 3 or 4 times already. So that's kind of what we're waiting up here for that. We have a couple of stories to talk about also. We have Marathon, convertible notes, right? Huge deal. 0% interest. We'll talk about that. The stock didn't do too well today on the news itself, which is kind of strange, but we'll talk about that. And we have also Core providing some news for us, as well as BitDigital. BitDigital also provided their quarterly results, but I'm missing some information on it, so I'm waiting on the actual SEC filing for the 10K, or the 10Q, sorry, on that one. And we'll look at some metrics here as well. We'll look at the miners versus the network hash rate of Bitcoin in themselves. See how they did in October, where that all came in. And we'll get into your guys' Q&A here. So it should be a pretty fun show. But as always, you guys know the drill. Non-financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research and full disclosure below that. And then if you enjoy this type of content, as always, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. And that's all I ask of you guys, right? All right, let's get into what's going on here with Bitcoin today. Bitcoin had a wild ride today. Miners did not do so well. They were kind of all over the place as well. But Bitcoin today was up to a high of approximately, the high was 92,674. We closed at 90,520. So we were still up 0.7% on the day. And then we're up again on the new day here. We're up another 0.91%. We're at currently 91,340-ish, somewhere around there. So it's not looking too bad. We do see maybe like we have a flag here, a pennant, right? If you look from the bottom here and just take that up, and then we from the top here, down here, I mean, it looks like we might be breaching that in the next couple of days to then extend our next leg up higher here, potentially getting closer to 100,000, unless that gets rejected and we go down here, which I don't think that's going to be the case, but I'm still thinking that's higher probability that we go up than we do go down. All right, and at least on Bitcoin here. Now, the miners, oh my gosh, today was a crazy day with them as well. Let's see, BitGet was the only one that was up. It was up 6.85%. Everybody else was down here. It looked like Hut was maybe out of the bunch here, down the least, other than BitDeer being up, right? So BitDeer being up on the numbers. We'll take a look at those numbers for their financial results when I get some more data. There's a lot of data already included there, but I'm missing the data for their separate business segments. For self-mining, hosting, all the other stuff that they do as well. I'm missing that data, so I need to get that in as well. But Marathon, oh my gosh, Marathon was down 14%. So based on the news that came out today with Marathon getting their convertible notes, it doesn't look like the market actually liked it. And we'll talk about maybe reasons why for that. But it was actually a really good get for them potentially, but we'll talk about it here nonetheless. Everybody else was just down single digits for the most part. Nothing too major, like I said, except for Marathon here. Some of the smaller miners were down also single digits, so it wasn't too bad on that as well. And then we had actually a couple of the ETFs being up. BitQ was up, DAP was up, and then like WGMI and BKCH were in the red today. So that is it on Bitcoin miners here really quick. Just a quick review on that one. Taking a look at the network hash rate here really quick. Let's refresh that as well while we're at it. 7-day average is at 724 exahash. The 30-day average continues to climb. We're at 732 exahash on that one as well. So that's kind of shaping out the way I thought it would happen here. And then let's take a look at the monthly numbers for November here right now. Bitcoin's up 29.83% as of right now. Fabulous month for Bitcoin. Miners are another story here, right? Especially since last week. It wasn't a great week for some of these guys here. There were only a couple that outperformed Bitcoin, but it is what it is. Like I said before, I think it's just the big players, the big money is having its field day with us, really. We're the shrimps, right? They're having a field day with us. They're just doing what they want. And I think they're getting ready to accumulate as much as they can before things really run up much higher. And the reason I say that is, here's a story from Blockware Intelligence. Monday Money Metrics, profitability spread rises. this is good news for the miners. This is usually when we see things taking off for us. So going down here, if you look at the chart, I'm just going to go over the chart. You guys can definitely take a read on this. It's at newsletter.blockware.intel.com/p/monday-mining-metrics.profitability. So you guys can find it there, right? You guys can definitely take a look at it here. But here, this is a fantastic chart as well. In the green is the miners' profitability. And I think they talk about here, when the miner profitability spread is greater than 0, Bitcoin miners are becoming more profitable. When it's less than 0, Bitcoin miners are becoming less profitable. This metric includes additional miner revenue from transaction fees as well as a loss in revenue from quadrennial Bitcoin halvings. Quadrennial Bitcoin halvings, okay, so every 4 years, right? And here's the dotted lines. The blue lines are the halving events here. We saw that each time when Bitcoin gets above those, we start having really nice revenues, and Bitcoin actually goes up in that value. That was back in 2016 halving. Going to 2020 halving as well, we saw that when right here, right, Bitcoin breached it, went down a little bit here, and then we went way up, and we're seeing the same thing happening here. We are right there. We're at the cusp of that explosive growth that we want to see in Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners as well, and it's playing out the same way here. And you can see it down here in the charts, right, where they pointed out, circle it out for you, 2016 halving, right, huge rally here, Bitcoin peaks, so did the miners at that point. We saw it also in 2020, where we peaked here probably, I was going to say maybe around March, April of 2021, I believe that was. At that point, most of the miners did not follow suit with Bitcoin going through the double top. Most miners peaked before that and actually went down. The only one that actually followed suit was Marathon at that point, Mara. And then here we are, just now. We are right there. We are on the cusp of having a nice rally here in the Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin in general. So I think I keep saying patience, right? You need to have patience with these miners. You need to understand the cyclicality of them as well and how they react and when they actually go up in value and when is that time. And I think that time is coming close to that time. So a little bit more patience, I think, is needed here. I don't think much more, but I think a little bit more is needed in order for us to really start going to where we really need to go here. And that's based on these charts, things that I've been through. I've been through these cycles since 2017. If you guys are following me for a long time, you guys would know that. So I've been through it before. I know this is not ideal situation that we're in right now, where Bitcoin's going up and miners are flat or going down. And it's just, we have also a lot more institutions in play right now, a lot more hedge funds, everything else is in there as well. And they're the big boys. They're controlling it more than anything nowadays. But I still think that they are going to be looking to make sizable gains here, returns on their investments. And this is when we may see a switch from, keeping the miners down to actually letting them run and run hard. And they do. When they do run, we don't need a lot of days where we have, 10, 15, 20% gains on them to do really, really well. So it's those days that really count for us here going forward, especially the time period that we're in right now. So it's not a good time to get creative, or I think trying to hedge your bets. Hedge your bets as best you can right now. Get into the ones you want to get into, and I think stay into them. I wouldn't get into like options or anything like that, because options could wipe you out quickly on this, depending on which way you're betting on that. And I would just be a little bit more conservative on things going forward. Conservative, I mean, as far as not making a lot of bets, not making a lot of transactions, not making moves from one direction to the other, because this is the time where a lot of the gains are going to be happening for us, I believe. Okay, so there's something to look at there as well. And then you can see here the Bitcoin price, aggregate cost to mine one Bitcoin has been going up, as we've known it has, depending on your cost of power. All that stuff is important in there as well. So just be patient, buckle up. Like I said before, it's going to be a bumpy ride. But as long as you have the conviction in these things, I think we're going to do very, very well in the next 9 to 12 months. Considering that all the things that we have going for us, along with the next U.S. president stating that they're going to try and put Bitcoin as a reserve asset. You got other countries doing the same thing possibly as well. It's just a lot of good news happening here for Bitcoin. And the miners are going to benefit tremendously from it, I believe. All right. So that's it on that one. That's kind of what my thoughts are, why I wouldn't really worry about the Bitcoin miners here. I would worry if we don't see substantial gains in the miners from where they are right now within the next, I would say, 3 to 4 months. If we don't see that, then I would maybe start to get worried a little bit more. But right now, we're having a great November. We had an okay October, right? It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad either. And then we'll have to wait and see what we had as far as December. I expect December to be really good as well. We have basically how many more days we have to go in here? We got about, 12 to 13 more days to go in November, and then we're into December here. So November's shaping out to be pretty good. So keep that in mind. Okay. All right. That's it on that one. Let's get into CORZ Scientific here. So CORZ Scientific and Port, I'm going to butcher this, Muskogee, break ground on 100 megawatt HPC data center. And this is part of their CORZ deal with CoreWeave to get them to the additional megawatts they need for their HPCI business, right? So CoreWeave, a leader in digital infrastructure for high performance computing and Bitcoin mining, and then CoreWeave, the AI hyperscaler, and Port Muskogee broke ground today on CORZ Scientific's newest state-of-the-art high performance computing data center. The 100 megawatt facility will host CoreWeave's NVIDIA GPUs for an undisclosed client. So we don't know who the client could be. Could be Microsoft. Microsoft is partnering with CoreWeave as well, but we just don't know that. So it's going to take a little while for them to build that out. Probably, I'm guessing, the next year or so that will happen. But the 100 megawatt Muskogee data center will provide approximately 70 megawatts of critical IT load to power the latest generation of NVIDIA GPUs, with the remaining 30 megawatts powering the ancillary systems required to ensure optimal GPU performance. We were talking about then the cooling, all that stuff that goes into it as well. The Muskogee data center represents a portion of the total 500 megawatts of critical IT load that CoreWeave has contracted with CORZ Scientific for HPC hosting operations, with a total potential contract value of $8.7 billion over the next 12 years. The site is expected to be operational in 2026. So I'm saying in the next 12 to probably maybe 12 to 18 months before it gets operational here. But that's kind of what we've known about that. So it's good that they're doing that. It's good that they're on track possibly to get that done as well. So it's going to be a good thing as well. And it looks like here, according to the latest impact projections, the Muskogee data center will generate a net benefit of approximately $182 million in the local economy, supporting 150 jobs and average salaries exceeding $65,000. So that is all good there. Okay. So great by CORZ Scientific here. Let's get into Marathon here. I'm sure you guys have some questions on it. I'm not an expert when it comes to convertible notes and things like that, but I do understand them on just kind of like a layman's term aspect of it. Okay, so Marathon Holdings Inc. announces price. I gotta stop saying Marathon. Mara Holdings Inc. announces pricing of oversubscribed and upsized offerings of zero coupon convertible senior notes due 2030. So basically, due in the next 5 years. At that point, the interesting part is here that it's 0%. I mean, that's just fabulous for them to get that here. So here's what we got. The notes will be unsecured, senior obligations of Mara. The notes will not bear regular interest, and the notes will mature on March 1st, 2030, unless earlier repurchased, redeemed, or converted in accordance with their terms, subject to certain conditions on or after March 5th, 2028. Mara may redeem for cash all or any portion of the notes at a redemption price equal to 100% of the principal amount of the notes to be redeemed, plus accrued and unpaid interest here, if any, not to, but excluding the redemption date if last reported sale of Mara common stock has been at least 130% of the company or of the conversion price, then in effect for a specific period of time ending on and including the trading day immediately before the date of Mara provides the notice of redemption. Wow, that's some legalese there. Let's see if we can break this down a little bit here. All right. So subject to certain conditions on or after, after 2028, Mara may redeem for cash all or any portion of the notes at a redemption price equal to 100% of the principal amount of the notes to be redeemed. Okay, principal amount of the notes redeemed. So if they get, what is that, like 700, 800 million or something like that, are they paying double that? I'm probably mistaking that, right? It's not going to be double. The price equal to 100%. So 100%, okay. So that would be just the price of the convertible note. So 700 million, they would basically buy that back for 700 million, I believe. All right, it wouldn't be double. Plus accrued and unpaid interest, if any, too, but excluding the redemption date if the last reported sale price of Mara. So All right, at these lower interest rates, I'm thinking it's going to be where these guys that do get the unsecured senior obligations, convertible notes, they will more than likely probably pull the trigger on, getting shares probably. And I think maybe that's what the fear is in the market. But you're looking at possibly sometime after 2028. So at that point, we're going to be into the next halving event in 2028 and then onto the next bull run. So we may get dilution at that point, but we shouldn't get dilution here in this current bull run that we're in. Okay, let's see here. If Mawson redeems fewer than all outstanding notes, at least 75 million aggregate principal amount of the notes must be outstanding and not subject to redemption as of the relevant redemption notice. Okay, so we got that. And then what are they going to use the notes for here, right? They're going to use, let's see, Mawson expects to use approximately 199 million of the net proceeds from the sale of the notes to repurchase 212 million in aggregate principal amount of its existing convertible notes due 2026. They've paid down a large portion of that already last year, if you remember that. Right, they had a 700 million convertible note that was due in 2026 here. They paid down, I think, like 400 million of that already. And people weren't happy with that as well at that time because they basically gave shares in order for them to do that. So that was a dilution event. And I think maybe that's what's booking maybe the market here a little bit with that, because they've done it in the past where they diluted shares in order to do that. But I think at 0%, I mean, it's basically like having an ATM without saying you have an ATM. All right, let's see here. Convertible notes and privately negotiated transactions with the remainder of the net proceeds to be used to acquire additional Bitcoin and for general corporate purposes, which may include working capital, strategic acquisitions, expansion of existing assets, and repayment of additional debt and other outstanding obligations. Okay, so that's what the use case is going to be for all this stuff here. Now, like I said, 0%, it's basically like getting an ATM here, right? You're not really paying anything for it. You do have the option to then buy it back after 2028 sometime. And like I said, I'm guessing that they're going to just dilute at that point, give out shares in the company to get the capital back, like they did recently here last year as well with some of the debts they had with the convertible notes. You guys can definitely read over this. How much Bitcoin could they buy for this? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what they actually do on it, on this. And let's see here. What else do they say here? The conversion rate for the notes will initially be 38.5 shares of Mawson common stock per 1,000 principal amount of notes. Okay, which is equivalent to an initial conversion price of approximately 25. Okay, yeah. So they're going to get a premium here a little bit, nonetheless. It's 42.5% over the U.S. composite volume weighted average for Mawson's common stock. Okay, yeah. So they're getting a little bit of premium on there. That's kind of where they got to be bought out at that point. So I can see why the market is a little bit unhappy with this. You guys can let me know what you guys think of it. But yeah. Also, if they're buying Bitcoin, you guys know how I feel about mining companies that buy Bitcoin. I'm not a big fan of it. You're mining Bitcoin, you should be able to mine it at a much lower cost than buying it at the current street price of Bitcoin. If they were going to do this, I think it would have been much better for them to do it at the price when Bitcoin was at like 13,000, 15,000 back in December of 2022. Instead of buying it now when Bitcoin's close to 90,000, 100,000, whatever it might be. But that's just my take. I'd like to know what you guys' take is on that one. Okay. Next here is really quick. We're going to get into BitDigital as well. BitDigital provided their quarterly results. We're going to get more deep into this one. Maybe we'll go over it on Sunday's video. As BitDigital is one of the smaller miners now that I cover. I put them into the smaller category because they're not growing their Bitcoin mining here. And we have some news on it that they might actually decrease their hash rate even more here. That's really why I wanted to cover that. Overall, they are doing a lot. I wouldn't say a lot better, but they're doing great, I think, with HPC AI. They have a lot of things happening for them, and that's kind of what I wanted to go over as well. We're going to go over a couple of the highlights here really quick. Financial highlights for the third quarter. Total revenue was $22.7 million for the third quarter, 96% increase compared to the third quarter of last year. The increase was primarily driven by the commencement of our high-performance computing services, right, HPC. That's kind of why I'm saying that they're kind of pivoting more into HPC. Revenue from Bitcoin mining was only $10 million of that, and then $12.2 million of that was in HPCI. So now they're generating more revenue from HPCI than they are from Bitcoin mining. You guys can read the rest here. Let's see. Operational highlights for the third quarter. The company paid approximately 5.5 cents per kilowatt. That is on the higher end compared to the miners. I think maybe Marathon might be around that as well, but historically Marathon, Mara, I got to say Mara. Mara's had, their ASICs hosted with companies, which they were paying between 6 and 7 cents. Now that they have more of their own infrastructure, they're probably paying a little bit less there, right? I just don't know exactly the numbers there. We'll run through that maybe one of these days. And then the average fleet efficiency for the active fleet was approximately 27.8 joules per terahash as of September. So not that great either, right? We want the miners to be probably below 21 joules per terahash for going into the after the halving event, going into the bull run. So they do have older machines there as well on that. You guys can read the rest here. This is interesting to me and kind of concerning here as well. So on September 5th, and I don't believe I saw a press release regarding this, and I can see why they wouldn't provide this press release. But on September 5th, 2024, the company received a 90 days notice of non-renewal of co-location mining services agreement from Coinmint, which informed the company of its intent to not renew 27 megawatts of the 36 megawatts total contracted capacity at Messina, New York site, effective December 7th. So we're only, 20 days away, roughly, from that, roughly. Subsequently, on October 29th, the company received an additional 90-day notice of non-renewal of co-location mining services agreement from Coinmint, which informed the company of its intent not to renew the remaining 9 megawatts of 36 megawatts total contracted at Messina, New York site, effective January 28th. Following the termination, Coinmint will continue to provide approximately 10 megawatts of capacity at their Plattsburgh, New York facility. As of September 30th, 2024, Coinmint provided approximately 46 megawatts of capacity for our miners at their facilities. That represents probably like 70% of their mining hash rate right now. So that is definitely interesting. That's going to bring them down from the 2.4, 2.5 exahash that they were down to like, what is it going to be, like 7 exahash? Not even 7 exahash, 700 petahash or something like that. That's going to be a huge drop in revenue for them unless they can find some new suitors for those machines. Also down here, the company is currently assessing options for replacing this capacity, right? So getting another hosting company to do that for them, and plans to high grade the portion of its fleet composed of older generation miners hosted at Coinmint locations. High grade. I'm trying to figure out what that means, high grade. Does it mean to sell them or does it mean to actually replace them? I've never heard that terminology used before, high grade the portion of its fleet. So if you guys could fill me in on that, I'd appreciate it. But yeah, I'm thinking either they're going to be selling those machines, high grade those, basically get rid of them, or could it be that they're looking to swap them out. But if you're having to relocate anyways, right, it might make sense that they're older generation, might as well sell them, get rid of them, instead of having them shipped to another location potentially. So that would be the way I would go. Sell those, and if anything, get newer machines if you wanted to do that. But based on things I've been seeing here with Bit Digital in the last, I would say maybe 2 to 4 months or so, it seems like they're pushing more. Well, it doesn't seem like it. We know that they're pushing more for HPC business than anything else. Bitcoin mining now is just a afterthought, more or less. I see it. And like I keep saying, I think Bitcoin mining for them after this bull run will probably be over. I think with this now, with Coinmint, it might be actually even faster that it's over, depending what they do with it here. Okay. So we'll see on that one. All right. Oh, what else is here? Oh, down here. Okay. Some good news for them, though. In October 2024, Bit Digital purchased 42 H200 GPU servers, 336 GPUs for approximately $9.7 million. Those servers were I can't pronounce that damn word. Subsequently deployed in Iceland for internal purposes and future client deployments. So that's interesting there, and that's good. And then on November 14th, BitDigital executed term sheets with 2 new customers. The first deal provides for BitDigital to supply the customer with 512 H200 GPUs for a period of at least 6 months, representing an approximate $5 million in contract value for BitDigital over the initial 6 months. The MSA has been executed with this client, and an initial 2-server purchase order has been fulfilled, and revenue generation has begun on those units. Okay, so that's really good there. The remainder of the deployment is expected prior to year-end 2024. Under the second deal, BitDigital will supply a separate customer with 576 H200s for a 12-month period, representing a total contract value of approximately $10 million over the term. So that's good there, right? But that's kind of what we're seeing with some of the other miners. We're seeing, we saw this with IREN as well, where they were getting these kind of shorter-term contracts from customers for 3 months, 4 months, 5, 6 months, whatever it might be. And yes, I think those are maybe a little bit more profitable in those durations, but then you're scrambling to find new customers for those GPUs and everything else. Instead of having like a contract for a number of years where it's more certain of the revenue that you're going to be getting. All right. Excuse me. And then on November 14th, BitDigital executed an MSA with a new customer. The contract provides for 64 H200 GPUs on a month-to-month basis. The contract represents an annual revenue of approximately 1.2 million, right? Much smaller contracts here. So that is definitely interesting. Kind of what we've been seeing with like I said, IREN. So it is interesting. That's why I've been skeptical on this whole HPCI business with a lot of these miners, is because, I mean, you really need like a hyperscaler in order for it to make it work for these miners. We saw that with Core and CoreWeave, right? CoreWeave is becoming a hyperscaler basically with the amount of capital that they're throwing into this HPCI business. The only other ones that can do that are the hyperscalers. So you got Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Meta. You might have some other ones in there as well, but those are like the big players that are deploying a lot of capital into the space. But yeah, we'll see how that works out going forward for everybody here. But it's interesting to see that they're getting smaller contracts here than they have in the past, because BitDigital did get a nice customer there for 2-3 years for those HPCs that they are basically running for them. But yeah, we'll see. Right, we'll cover that one more a little bit probably this weekend when I cover the smaller miners as well, and we'll go through all that information there at that point. All right, so that is it on that. Let's take a look at really quick here, enterprise value per exahash. This is updated as of today with prices on the miners for stock prices, and I've also updated the enterprise values for a lot of these guys for Q3. So I believe we have like Hive already reported, Hut 8 reported, Core has reported as well, Riot as well, Bitfarms, and all those. So I've included those enterprise values in there. So that's been updated as well. And here's what we have here today. Based on current hash rate where the miners are right now, Hive, by Marathon seems to be way down here on 68. Well, probably because it went down 14% today. I think maybe that's the cause for it. It's definitely come down 14% for them on, what was it, like it was almost like 6 billion in revenue or 6 billion in market cap. That's definitely going to bring it down for sure. So Hive, Marathon, Iris, Bitfarms, Cleanspark, right? I mean, some of these bigger miners here, except for maybe Hive here, but these guys definitely, and Riot even, way undervalued in my opinion compared to now Hut 8 being like the most overvalued here. 314 million based on, gosh, I mean, what do they have? 5 point something exahash that operates at about 3.2 exahash, right? What are they getting bid up on? They're getting bid up on the HPCI business. Excuse me. And then if we look at future hash rate growth, we got Bitfarms, Cleanspark, Iris again being the most undervalued here, followed by Marathon, Riot as well. And then you can see here Core is being valued tremendously, but Core still has like 19 exahash, right? But a lot of their values coming in from the HPC business that they're going to get next year as well. Terrawolf, same thing, is just HPCI hype. Hut 8, HPCI hype. Cypher, same thing, HPCI hype. So we're seeing this kind of same narrative happening across the board here with those miners that are looking to get into HPCI more than anything else. And if they don't get anything here substantive in the next, I would say, couple months, I mean, the stocks might take a beating here going forward. I wouldn't expect it for Core, but Terrawolf, Hut 8, and Cypher, if they don't report on a substantial customer going forward, that's going to give them, I would say probably 100 million plus a year in revenue. Geez, the stocks might get hit pretty big at that point. All right, so that's it on that one. And then let's take a look at the monthly, not the monthly, but I wanted to take a look at the other one, which was, where is it at? Not break even. Where did it go? Okay, Bitcoin hash rate comparison. There it is. Okay, so this takes into consideration where has the network hash rate gone month over month, where have the miners increased their hash rate as well, and how do they stack up now? So we can see here that the Bitcoin network hash rate has been increasing tremendously, even after the halving event that we had in April. We did dip a little bit here to 580 exahash, and then we're up to 704 at the end of October. Here we're at 732, I think we're at right now. So we had another 30 exahash increase just in the last 3 weeks or so on that one. And then you can see where we started just in November of 2022, I believe this is, November 2022. And we're 2.5x on top of that. Maybe, no, more than that, 3.5x on top of it. And hold on, I gotta clear my throat. All right, that should be better. Sorry about that. But the miners have also been increasing quite nicely here. The miners are up from 48 exahash here in November of 2022 to 190. So that's almost a 4x on those guys alone. So they have been improving faster or higher, faster, higher, whatever you want to call it. And then the network hash rate has been. And that's why we're seeing down here, we can see that the network percentage that they command right now went down a little bit here in October from 28% of the network hash rate to 27%. But we can see why. The network hash rate in general increased by 60 exahash. Miners only installed that I track by about 7.2 exahash. So there's the disparity there on it as well. You can see here that combined the miners together increased by 3% from the prior month as well, from where they were on it. So kind of interesting to take a look at that. And the miners are still, I think, doing really, really well. But man, where did that 60 exahash come in from? Or approximately 52 exahash additional that came in on the network. It could be a number of things. It could be older machines that are being plugged in because they're profitable once again. And it could also be a lot of the miners that we don't track or cover that are installing hash rate as well. So those could be private miners. Could be, some people say it could be nation states, right? Are they getting into it as well on that? I still have a hard time believing that they would get into it, but there might be some. But I don't think it's going to be anything major there, at least. So that's that. Talked about that. You can see the miners' network hash rate percentage over, or market share over a long period of time, how that's been kind of up and down, but it has been definitely growing here in the last year. And then looking over the miners here in the last month, sorry, which miners have increased their network hash rate, and we only have two. Cypher increased by just a little bit, along with Cleanspark. Everybody else has been down here month over month from the network hash rate. And you can see the ones that have decreased the most are TeraWolf, right, and Core. Core, as we know, has not been growing their hash rate recently. They've been more focused on HPC AI. They have talked about in the past that they are going to be working with Block to get about 15 exahash added, and that's going to be used probably to swap out some of their older machines as well at that point. So that would probably increase their hash rate a little bit, but there's been really no growth here in Core and really no growth in TeraWolf either for the most part. So we're seeing that. IREN is down a little bit here. They installed quite a bit in September, right? They got to 21 exahash and not much growth here in October. We should see more growth from them here in November and December as well as they reach 31 exahash. But everybody else has been otherwise down as well at that point. Okay, so that is it. That's all I want to talk to you guys about. Let's get into the Q&A side of things here. And as always, you guys know Patreon members get access to all my spreadsheets, charts, everything else. Link for that is down in the description. Okay? All right. I got to take a sip of water because I'm losing my voice here a little bit. All right. Let's see what we got going on with Q&A. As always, Q&A questions. Please preface the question with a Q or a question at least so I know it's that. And there's a lot of you guys talking about here in comments already. I'm going to go up a little bit on the comments. I will try to get through all your comments as well. But it's always delayed a little bit. I think I'm already like 15 seconds delayed from where you guys are right now. So give me a sec while I catch up with everything, and we'll start answering some questions. Wow. Okay, let's see what we got here today. I'm going to go up a little bit here so we can find some questions. All right, what do we got here? Trying to make sure I don't squeeze on somebody else's comments here where you guys are coming in between each other. Okay. I don't see any questions. You guys are having a lot of comments between yourself, which is fine, which is great. Okay, here we go. First one. June late, I'm in IREN stock at 1020. Should I be worried about it? Is it a good stock? Yeah, I think it's a great stock. IREN, Cleanspark, Bitfarms, I would even say maybe even Riot's been doing a little bit better now recently. That one, who else? Hive. They haven't been doing too great. And the main reason for that is there's been a lot of HPC AI hype around some of the other names, and they've been catching a lot of the upside here recently. But that I think is going to change for us. We talked about a little bit on the charts today as well, where we're kind of like in that sweet spot right now where we should be going parabolic with Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners as well. So I wouldn't be worried too much. And I said this before, I'd be worried now if like in 2 to 4 months, Bitcoin is not higher along with the miners, that IREN, Cleanspark, Marathon, all those guys are not higher. Then I'd start maybe to question a little bit more. But right now, I don't think so. Okay. Let's see. Desmarcus says today was the time to buy. Yeah, any dips that you get, I think right now are a gift if you can get them. Okay. Yeah, I hear a lot of you guys out here saying the same thing. I doubt miners will do that. Do what they did last cycle. Will get diluted to the moon. Dilution is there. I'm not gonna, scapegoat around it. But you also have to look at where they were last cycle and where they are right now. Hash rate is much, much higher. Their balance sheet is also much better as well. Some of these guys have a much bigger hodl as it is right now. That should all play very, very well into them with Bitcoin going up. Do you think Cleanspark will beat earnings expectations? I don't. I'd love to be surprised, but I think they might actually have a slight negative EPS. Excuse me. Let's see. I wonder how many people in here probably round-tripped gains on miners constantly and need to learn TA, technical analysis. Yeah, I'm one of those guys. I'll be the first one to admit it. I'm not worried about that. I just want to continue to buy. I don't have time to be day trading, right? So that's day trading. That's not investing. You're day trading. That's a different story. I want to invest in these guys when they're down in the bear market, and I want to get out of them when they're in the bull run. That's kind of what I want to do. I just want to dollar cost average into them. That's my philosophy, right? Some of you guys that do day trade and do TA, yes, you guys might do better than me, but that's okay. I'm all right with that, right? It's different philosophies in the way you're doing things. I can't sit in front of a screen for 8 hours a day and trade these things. So I do what I can do to make my investments grow. All right. All right. Okay. What if the miners don't run as they used to? They already have, in a sense. If you look back where they were, let me see if I can find it here. Stock performance here. Okay. This is a pretty good one. This is a pretty good chart. I think kind of spells it out a little bit for you guys here. So if we look back at just the beginning of, from October, right? And the reason I do that is because basically the fourth quarter, right? You can see that HUT 8 is 116%. Bitcoin's up 48%. You got Cypher, Riot, BitDeer, Terrell, and Cleanspark outperforming Bitcoin here already, right? In just the last month and a half or so. Yes, you do have some that are underperforming. You got Hive, CORZ Scientific, Iris, Marathon, and Bitfarms underperforming. Okay, that happens. If we look at from the beginning of the second half here, we can see that Bitcoin is at this point up 43%, and you only have Core and HUT 8 outperforming Bitcoin, whereas others are underperforming, and even in the negative side of things. But then when you look at price from the beginning of this year, you still have Bitcoin being up 100%, TeraWolf being up nicely here, 206%, Core being up really nicely, 353%, and the miners have underperformed. This is what we saw similar to last cycle as well. The miners last cycle even were going down into the halving event and then kind of trading sideways, going down a little bit after the halving event until we got into like these months, November, December of that time frame, and that's when they really started to shoot up much higher as well. If you got into the miners here at basically the bottom end of the bear market, which was at the end of December here in early January of 2022 and into 2023 for January, you can see here that Bitcoin's up at 442%, but you got a lot more miners that are up quite tremendously here. Cypher's up 920%, TeraWolf 891%, Iris 761%, Cleanspark 565%, HUT 8 is now 512%, and you got some that are underperforming. Yes, you got Marathon, Bitfarms, CORZ Scientific, Riot, and Hive underperforming, and there's possible reasons for it. Marathon's reasons could be for their operational deficiencies, right? They've had issues there last year. Bitfarms had debt in the beginning of 2022 that they had to pay down. They sold Bitcoin, all that stuff. That kind of will take a jab at the stock price at that point. CORZ Scientific also at that point was a different breed. It was in bankruptcy and all that stuff. So take that with a grain of salt here. I think if it wasn't for that, I think it'd be much better on it. Riot also issues with operations, right? Bitfarms also has now Riot overhang on them, with Riot owning 19.9% of the shares. Hive is just not a lot of growth, great operations, but not a lot of growth. And then Bitdeer just came public here, when was it, 2022, I think it was, or 2023 even. Then it came public, so that's why I don't have a lot of data on those guys, on that one. All right, but you can still see that the miners do really, really well, depending when you got into them. And you just got to be patient with them, especially if you bought in higher. I still believe that we have a lot more gains for us to have in the next 9 to 12 months with these guys. All right, where do I want to go? Back here. Okay. What else we got here? Yeah, Marathon got beat down today. Yep, I saw that. Okay, question. Take a look at Marathon chart if possible. It started the day sharply dropping 10%, but then had a razor sharp recovery. But I do think sharply crashed 14% right after, and news was out way early. I think it's because of the news. I think it's the convertible debts that they're getting there, right? Convertible notes. I think it's a great note, 0% and everything else, but I think people are just fearful that they're going to dilute the shares there to pay that convertible notes off, like they did last year with the partial repayment of the 700 million convertible notes they had prior to that. So I think that's part of the reason there. Yes, it recovered as Bitcoin was going up, right? Came down to like almost being positive in the morning hours, and then it just continued to fall after that. All right, let's see here. Glad to see you added your name on the charts. A lot of people on X stealing your thunder, posting on their pages, not giving you the love. Yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. Some of the charts I forget to do it on. But a lot of times I do get the mentions in there. I get mentioned in, I think the charts you can put for when you upload an image, you can attribute it to somebody, or tag somebody in there. And they do tag me in there, so I do see that. Okay. Question, what are your thoughts on dilution? Do you ever think your thesis has been wrong? It's not the same as last cycle. Last cycle, the miners weren't diluting as much. I will give you that. But they were also taking a lot of debt, which was a bad thing, especially as things turned south on us and Bitcoin going down. And then we had companies, CORZ Scientific is a perfect example of that, right? Not only did they have operational issues, but they also had debt. They got in trouble because of that. Bitfarms almost got in trouble because of it. We had Argo got in trouble because of it. They actually ended up selling the facility, their Helios facility, right, to Galaxy Digital at that point. So people got in trouble because of debt. I would rather have them dilute and not have that debt overhang, because that could be a death nail to some of these guys here. Like we've seen it. We've seen it also with Greenwich. We've seen it with Mawson as well. Those guys got into trouble because of the debt, and they haven't really recovered because of it. Okay, Nvidia's going down before the earnings. Good time to buy. Not sure. I don't cover Nvidia really much. I know that they're doing a lot of the stuff with the HPC AI business. So I don't know. I don't know where the stock's been. I don't track them. I'm not sure. Okay. At what price would you be convinced to buy Mara? I think Mara is a great company. It's a huge company for sure. Some things I don't like, right? I don't like them buying Bitcoin when they can mine it at a much lower cost potentially. In the past, I didn't like that they were asset light. I would have liked to have them own their sites, and now they're doing that, so that's a good thing there. Their operations have been also questionable at times for me. They had great operations, and like last month or last year, right around this time, November, December, they mined 1,800 Bitcoin in December of last year. That was freaking huge. And then it went down to like half that, like 900 in the following month. It's like, wait a minute, you're mining 1,800 one month and down half of that. What the heck happened there? So those are the reasons why I haven't been a fan of Mara for the most part. Is just it's their inconsistencies with operations. And the reason I say that is because if you're a company and you buy mining machines for X, right? I want those companies to be mining as close to 100% as possible, because then I know it's going to take them 12 to 18 months to possibly get an ROI on those machines, right, to pay them off if you get them in the right time. If you operate at 50%, That's going to take you 36 months to pay those things off, right? Unless Bitcoin really starts going parabolic and you can offset that possibly. But in the most, at most, I like to see them running much, much closer to their 100% uptime, right? Can they get to 95%? I think that's fine, right? It doesn't have to be, as long as it's not lower than 95%, I'm happy with that. But if you're lower than that, like 90, 80, 85%, or even 70%, okay, there's issues there. There's problems, and you're not doing the best thing for your shareholders at that point, I believe. What else here? Okay. Hi, Seb. On previous cycles, miners only started their parabolic run some 20, 30 days after Bitcoin started going up. Do you think this is what happens here? Thanks. Yes, I do. We need to have conviction that Bitcoin is going up much higher before the miners start running. Bitcoin has done a great job here in the last 2 weeks or so. It's gone up to 90,000 from the 60s and 70,000. So that's fantastic. Now we need to pump a little bit higher towards like 100,000. And I think at that point, the miners will do better. So what do you think of Jason Less as the CEO? I can only gauge him based on what I've seen him on basically YouTube or X, right? His conversations with Anthony and Bryce, his conversations at like any of the meetings that they have or something like that, or shareholders meetings. That's the only thing I can gauge him on, right? I don't know him as a person. I don't know him individually. Based on that, I can say that I do believe he means well by shareholders in the company in general. And we'll have to hold his feet to the fire, right? He's stated that they should be operating closer to 95% uptime once things settle down, and I guess. But we need to see that. I do not like all the share-based stock compensation. He has explained it to us that it is kind of like front running. If they don't meet those targets and goals and everything else, that gets put back into the company coffers. I'm like, okay, why front run it now? Why not just go, you met your target, here's your bonus, right? It's not like if you're a private company, this is probably a pretty good example here. If you're at a private company and you have a great quarter, right? The boss comes out and gives you, a bonus for $5,000, $10,000, whatever it might be, right? He gives you that to you. You're not expected to then have that taken away from you potentially, right? It'd be a different story if the boss was giving you in advance a year out. I'm going to give you $20,000 for the next 4 quarters. And if we don't reach those targets that we're going to get to, I'm going to ask you to give me back the money. Doesn't really make sense, does it? Right? I don't like that kind of shenanigans happening there. Let's see here. Our miners being swapped for Coinbase and MicroStrategy. We do have that sometimes where we get the rotation from miners to MicroStrategy, from MicroStrategy to miners, depending on things. And we'll have that happening again here, I believe, in the next couple weeks here. It should be happening. Okay. Question. Did you hear about DJT buying a crypto app backed? I did not know. Let's see. Mark says, Penny Ether on X put out a scathing post on Mara. Have you seen it? And if not, do you think Mara is not profitable currently? I have seen it, yeah. I know that their cost to mine Bitcoin is higher than the other miners. I think my numbers right now are showing like around 50,000, I think it is. So they're definitely much higher priced when it comes to profitability at that point. And that's maybe why they're doing this stuff where they're buying Bitcoin to kind of offset their profitability margins possibly. Okay. Some understood that Cleanspark will probably be slightly negative. Do you think it will start the pump on guidance though? My assumption is that BTC could be close to 100,000 by December 18th. I also think that Bitcoin's going to be above 100,000 here in December. It might even reach that before then. You just never know. On guidance, it is their fiscal year end, right? We have to wait when they actually report that, which we don't know. I don't know if you guys know. I haven't seen anything yet as far as when they're reporting. But when they do report, it would be interesting to note or to see what is their guidance for 2025 like, because it is their fiscal year end. So they need to provide some kind of guidance as far as, are they targeting 75 exahash, 100 exahash by the end of the year of 2025, their fiscal year, which would be our Q3 here. But yeah, if they provide something like that where they have great growth going forward, okay. But I don't think it really matters. they can provide that they're getting to 75, 80 exahash next year or something like that, growing another 30 exahash. And if Bitcoin's going up, they will do just great. Because why? In Q4, if Bitcoin gets past 100,000 by the end of Q4, let's just say it's 115,000, right? They're basically, right now, their cost of mining Bitcoin is around, I think, 27,000, somewhere around there. That's just electricity, not including SG&A and all that other stuff. So at that point, they are much, much more profitable to mine Bitcoin. And we ran the numbers. I think if we said Bitcoin was at 200,000 and they were still mining around 650 Bitcoin per month, you're looking at like $120 million in revenue a month. Multiply that times 12, you're getting, whatever that is, going to be 1 point some billion in revenue a year. That's huge. And they definitely will need to be valued at that. And if you multiply it just by a 10 PE, you're looking at a 10 billion company just on that alone. So definitely something to think about there. All right. Sebastian, question. Do you believe Cleanspark is currently the most undervalued mining stock? If you were to choose just one mining stock for investment, which one? It would be Cleanspark. Yeah. I think it's one of the most. There's a couple in there. You got Hive in there. Hive, not a lot of growth, so I can understand that. But you got Cleanspark in there, IREN, Bitfarms, Riot, and kind of Mara in there as well. Some of the more pure play Bitcoin miners are not doing that great compared to the HPC hype mines. Alrighty, let's see here. DK, can you research more about Soluna's preferred shares? I think they are prime buyout target by the preferred shareholders. Get $25 per share first. Don't know how much that leaves for regular holders. Yeah, I don't know about. I don't have enough understanding or about enough knowledge on the preferred shares, non-preferred shares, how that all works. That's all hocus pocus to me. I'm not in that space, so I don't know enough about that, unfortunately. All right. See your question yesterday. I am from Turkey. Oh, thank you so much for coming in. We saw in Mara was an act of killing shorters and longers both. Am I wrong? That GameStop movement is coming from Mara, and before that, whales are clearing area. Not just in Mara, it's in all the miners. I think the big guys are clearing the spaces here for a nice run up here going forward. When that's going to happen, I think it's going to happen within the next couple of weeks, maybe sooner than that. Question: Mara has mined 480 BTC this month so far. If they mined 800 this month, what would that put their efficiency at? 800? Well, 480, that's, what are we at? We're at 18 days into the month. What are they mining right now? Let me run the math here, my calculator. So 480 divided by 18. They're mining about 26 per day. What do we have? 31 days in November times 31. They should be around 826. Yeah. So that would definitely be better than what they were in October. October, they were at 650 on Mara Pool, roughly at that point. So let's see. Let's take a look at Marathon here. What would that get them to? Where are they at? Marathon. There they are. Okay. So let's take a look here. Marathon. See, they reported here 656 Bitcoin in October. If they get to 800 Bitcoins plus on top of that, that should get them closer to their, depending on what their hash rate is at the end of the month, but that should get them much closer to being like at, I would imagine, 28, 29 days. We have them 23 days in October here. So that would definitely get them closer to operational prowess, I guess you could say, which would be good. And maybe the reason for that is colder temperatures, right? If we look, I don't think we have it here, but if we look back, I have it in the charts here. If we look back to last year, you can see that they had a huge run up here as well in Bitcoin mined. Where's that, right? They were at 1184, 1151 here in November, and then look at this, December, 1800 BTC. I know that a large portion of that was also contributable to network transaction fees as well in there. But nonetheless, take that out. I think they were still up huge here. So maybe the colder months are having an impact where they can mine for a longer amount of time and things like that. Okay, so there's that. Let's go back here. Okay, what else here? Trying to find another question. Sam. Hi, Sam. How you doing, buddy? Okay, how is Bitcoin mined? It's not really mined. It's you're solving a mathematical problem, and if you solve that equation, you get a block. You get the privilege to basically get a block and put it into the blockchain. Let's see here. SH, did someone delete my messages? I don't see my last 3 messages. I have not deleted anything. I'm a huge proponent of free speech, as long as it's polite speech, right? Especially here. So as long as nothing has been, I don't usually delete anyways, because I don't usually catch things until like it's too late anyways. All right, let's see. Question: if BTC doubles to 180,000, do you still have a high conviction that Cleanspark and Bitfarms will do a 5x 2.5 multiplier with BTC? Would like to think that they will, but no, I'm not so sure. I still believe that, yes. If we go up that high, 180,000, like I said, I mean, they're going to be generating so much revenue. They definitely would need to catch a much higher multiple at that point. All right. Okay. Really interested in your thoughts around Bitfarms. It's a good portion of my holdings. Same for you. What percentage will you continue holding and buy? If sell, what is the next move and split? Yeah, well, like I said, I'm waiting until the end of November here. Once they report the operational update for November, see how much the hash rate they installed. If it's not great, I better have a really doggone good reason why. But at that point, I'm probably going to sell at least half, if not more, at that point, and move it over into like Cleanspark and IREN. Maybe more so into Cleanspark, because Cleanspark's got a nicer hodl there. But with IREN, it's one news story away from them having an HPCI customer that's sizable, and the stock is going to go parabolic. So it's a tough. I wish we didn't have this HPCI hype all of a sudden this year, because it would make it a lot easier to be able to know for certain this is what I want to get into, because these guys are operating tremendously. Now it's that you have this little boogeyman on the back of your head going, but they could have HPCI. You know, maybe you should invest in them, because what you've seen here is HPCI has been doing really well. But I think eventually that will flip. We just need Bitcoin to go up higher. Okay, question. What about situations leaving the miners and going into MicroStrategy? What about situations? I'm not sure what that is. What about just people going from miners into, yeah, that has happened before. And then we see that also changing. We get a flip on that also, where the people from MicroStrategy have made good money, they go back into the miners that have been beaten down. All right. Said people only read the news in the morning for Mara. The details of the notes was posted around 8 p.m. Stock is currently up 3% overnight. Okay. Yeah, so that could be the reason why there. All right, let's see here. About to watch you from scratch. Just got here. Oh, appreciate it. Thanks so much. What else here? Trying to see. You guys are. I'm trying to evade the comments between you guys that you guys are talking between yourselves. I think we're getting close here. Let's see. I think you're talking about Cleanspark here. Where is it? Cleanspark possibly target this cycle $30. I think it's actually going to be more than that. All right. Mark says, "Sorry, I plan on retiring this cycle. I'm not done with this stuff yet. I want to make even more." All right. Question: how many multiples Bitfarms can do if a cycle top for Bitcoin is 200,000? 200,000. Geez, I would think at least 5, if not higher than that. But that all depends about investor sentiment, right? Do they see the overhang on Riot as a bad thing, with Riot owning 19.9% of the shares there? Are they fearful that Riot could sell the shares as well at any point in time, keeping the stock down? That could be a question mark there. And maybe I'm fulfilling my own self-prophecy here by talking about it even, that could be an issue, right? But I want to make sure that I provide you guys with all the details that are happening out there. And so that's one of the things that could be out there that holding the stock down. But I think it should do much better. I mean, operations are great. We just need to see continued growth from them. Let's see, we are already at 90,000. Bitfarms hasn't started moving yet compared to other miners with same exahash. Yeah, I completely agree with you. That's why I'm going to be reevaluating my position Bitfarms here happening and towards the beginning of December. Okay, let's see here. For a miner having convertible nodes combined with ATM dilution seems like a bad idea. What you think? How would they be adding shareholder value? Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one for me. That's kind of the same thought I was having there with it. Yes, the debt is nice because it's 0% there, but eventually they're either going to have to dilute it, the shares, or with Mara's case, probably sell some Bitcoin. How likely are they to sell Bitcoin? I don't know. Historically, they haven't done that. So, I mean, they sold Bitcoin in the past, last year and early this year as well, but it wasn't much. But other than that, they've been hodling the whole time. So, I don't have a lot of conviction of them selling it. I think they're going to continue to hold on to it. All right. Okay. Can you explain how Cleanspark and IREN is so efficient in terms of uptime compared to Mara and Riot? Okay. Riot has had issues with miners in the past. They had issues with their site at, gosh, what was that site name now? This is their first site, Rockdale. They had an issue with an ice storm that went through the area there. They had their immersion cooling systems having issues there, and they also had issues with the miners there. They also hedge on their power as well, so they do have curtailment that they have to deal with, and the 4CP, which is part of that whole program in ERCOT as well. So those are the four. What is it called? 4 incident peaks or 4 peak coincidence, or something. I can't remember what it's called exactly, but they have to basically shut down on those times as well. So that'd be basically Riot in a nutshell. Marathon, on the other hand, has been asset light, so they've been hosting other machines with other companies for the most part, except for going back a year now, they've been actually buying their own facilities or buying them out from the hosting facilities. But they're still about 65% owned now, and then was it 35% hosted. So you're still at the mercy of the hosting providers to give you great uptime, and depending where they're at, if they're in Texas, they could be dealing with the same thing where you have curtailment, credits, all that stuff with the power, and that's why you have the downtimes. Also, they had issues here recently this year with the sites that they bought. A couple of them, I think, had issues with the transformers. I think the reason for that is because they were running a little too hot on December, where they mined at 1,800 Bitcoin, but there was a cost to it. They were possibly overheating the transformers there potentially. So it's just those types of things. And then you're seeing Cleanspark being in other states, right? They're in Georgia, Nashville, Kentucky, Wyoming. There might be another one I'm missing there as well. But they're all over the place where they're not as reliant on ERCOT. Well, they're not reliant on ERCOT at all, right? They can pretty much operate much higher uptime because of that, because a lot of the energy that they are using is nuclear. It's not wind, or it might be a portion of it, but in Texas you have a lot of wind, solar, and then you have other things included in there as well. And the same thing I think for Riot, or not Riot, IREN. IREN has been hedging their bets on electricity in Texas while they're building out, was it Corsicana, I think it's called? I think it's Corsicana. There's another one that Riot has. I keep getting those two confused. But the sites in Texas, they've been hedging those. They got burnt by doing that in August. If you recall, going back to that, they paid $7 million to get out of the hedge, and they're getting much better, lower pricing right now. And they've been actually doing really well in their operations as far as being close to about like 95, 98% uptime out there. So that's the reasons why. I'm not exactly sure of other things that could be contributing factors to it, but that's kind of what I see. All right, what else we got here? Okay, there we go. Could quantum computing be a risk for safety of BTC network? Okay, I've heard this before as well. I've heard people chime in on this as well that are much more than me when it comes to this stuff. And the thing that I've heard was, if there is a fear of quantum computing, they do have the ability to provide basically a SHA-256 algorithm that would be able to prevent quantum computers from being able to hack all the seed phrases, all that stuff for the Bitcoin mining. Not Bitcoin mining, but Bitcoin wallets and all that stuff. So I think they have already something that's there in case they need to use it if that does happen. Okay. What other options do Bitfarms have to get capital for the miners required to fill their infrastructure once the 300 million is done? ATM is the only thing that they really have access to right now. Nobody wants to get into debt because financing on debt right now is still pretty high on interest rates. Okay. Let's try to see if there's any questions. Okay, there we go. Did you saw the numbers of outstanding shorts in Cleanspark? What's the reason the shorts are so high on Cleanspark? It's one of the best and undervalued miners. It's not only high on them, it's also on Marathon, on Riot as well. And I don't know why. Companies do hedge against their bets. So companies that are buying MicroStrategy or Bitcoin ETFs, whatever it might be, they might be hedging on the miners themselves. And like I've said before, we're the small fish in this big ocean. These big fish are the ones that are steering this right now as far as which direction things go with the miners. They have so much more capital invested in them compared to what we have collectively, probably. We're a drop in the ocean compared to what they have, probably. So we're at their mercy, but I think they will turn things around for us here going forward. Like I said, it's just going to take a couple weeks maybe before we start seeing really good appreciation in the miners. Okay, that's here. Hi, Seb, I think it will be a huge disappointment if Cleanspark doesn't show profit in Q4. Well, their Q4 is our Q3. Their fiscal year ended in September, right? So it'd be, I think you're talking about Q1, which is our Q4 here. They're pulling in almost 2 million per day. They have one of the lowest cost to mine. Yeah, I would agree with you. All right. Question: have you sold your Bitfarms yet? I have not. If not, then when or at what price do you plan to sell? Okay. I talked about this here just shortly. I want to see what the November numbers look like. How do they increase their hash rate? And then, see what they have any kind of guidance for going forward. If we get low hash rate growth, like 500 petahash to 1 exahash or something like that, I may end up selling half of it and then putting it into like Cleanspark and IREN. All right. Okay. So with BTC ETF options coming out, do you have any concern that people will shift money into BTC ETF options for a leverage play on BTC? There might be some of that. How much of that will there actually be? I mean, you're looking at people that are, it could be like the big money going into it as well. It'll be interesting. We'll have to wait and see how that one plays out. Okay. Question: what are your thoughts on Cleanspark warrants? If Cleanspark skyrockets, the warrants should do even better, right? That I don't know. That is beyond my expertise when it comes to warrants and like the secure notes and all that stuff. That is, I don't have the experience in that financial system at all. So I go a lot by what I've learned from you guys as well on this stuff. So maybe somebody in the comments will be able to provide that, but I've heard that before, that it is better on the warrants than it possibly. Okay. Price target for Cleanspark and IREN, much higher from where we are right now, especially if Bitcoin goes through its nice parabolic rise in the next 9 to 12 months. Do you think Mara will drop below $18? I don't think so. We had a gap filled here today. I think that was maybe what was actually holding it, driving it down here a little bit. We had maybe some people wanting to cover some shorts here, but let's see, we're at 18. Below that, how far lower below that did we get? We got to a low of, well, we did get below it today, 1772, it looks like. Will we close there? I don't know. We had this gap here get filled already, along with other miners. I don't know. It just depends on how people are unhappy with the convertible notes. If they're really unhappy, they might drive it down more. I don't know. Maybe some of the Mara pigs are capitulating with it. I don't know. I wouldn't think they would, but I don't think it's enough to drive the stock way down. I think it's something else driving it. I think it was just a gap here that we saw from, the weekend last weekend, not this prior weekend, but the weekend prior, and Monday. We had a huge rise up on a lot of these guys here. We can see it here got filled for Mara, right? Not so much CORZ, but Cleanspark was another one that was a gap here that got filled as well. So all should be well in the world now that those gaps are filled, and the big boys are happy with that. but time will tell. All right, going back here. All right, let's see here. Hey, Seb, I think Mara is being smart. I think you have to review overall mining cost. It's more like 70,000 per BTC, not 30,000. You know, that's why Mara is buying. Well, yeah, I said 50,000 for them. With that's just including their electricity and operations, things like that. Doesn't include their SG&A and everything else. But yeah, you might be right on that being around closer to 70,000 with all-in costs. Yes. I'll take a look at it. I'll take a look at all the miners, what their break-even cost is when they all report. So I'm still waiting on a few of them to report. Sub when moon in a couple of weeks, couple of months, we'll get there. Just be patient a little bit. All right, let's see it. I listened to both Bitfarms CC and Anthony's interview. Ben said Bitfarms will be around 50 exahash in 2025 and 3 digits megawatts in HPC-AI, which is around 500 megawatts. Are you talking about Cypher? Bitfarms Cypher. Not sure. I think you may be getting things confused because I did not hear that and I listened to the same interview. All right, let's see it. Ben has also stated they are going to reach 21 exes by the end of the year, so you figure. Okay. Let's see. Did you see Druckenmiller bought more shares? I did not, no. But yeah, that's one of the guys that's definitely been pumping that stock up. So maybe there is some good news happening for them here in the next month or so, that they're going to have a maybe nice customer there. Okay. What do you think of the price prediction of Bitfarms at 150,000? I mean, we're close to that as it is of 100,000 right now. I'd like to see Bitfarms at least get to 250 at 100,000 for Bitcoin. And then 150,000, we should be at least around 5 at that point. 180, I would say probably closer to 10 if that works out for us. All right. All right, let's see. Okay. Jonas says, I was surprised that Bitfarms did not fall any more than other miners after the disappointing earnings and year-end target delayed 6 months. Question is, what exahash you want next month to not sell the thing? I'd like to see those 20,000 of miners going to Stronghold facilities get installed. So we need to see right around 4 exahash. I would be happy with 3 exahash, actually. If we got 3 exahash, okay. We're looking a little bit better there. All right. Okay. Mara question. Mara buys BTC because ROI for acquisition is 12 to 18 months, getting immediate return. 6 months for Bitcoin appreciation. Source, Mara letter. Do you disagree with this thought process? Okay. So there's, excuse me, basically they're saying Bitcoin you buy now, you get maybe you get 2.5x out of it, right? So that would be 180,000 to like 200 some thousand, 245,000. Okay. Yeah. If you can get miners and facilities up and running to increase your hash rate, and within the next, I would say 9 to 12 months. Okay. Then maybe that does make sense. You can get it on that. They're getting to 50 exahash by the end of this year. They're supposed to. We don't have any guidance from them yet as far as where their plans are to get to in 2025. So maybe I could see that thought process. All right. Question: how did you feel more comfortable after Ben's interview? He seemed to downplay the exahash, said 21 by the end of June, and tried to walk up megawatts. I don't understand it too well or feel great. Yeah, he was kind of dancing around the question a little bit. Didn't like that too much. Okay, let's see. Sarah says, Seb, I doubt Bitfarms does any growth by the end of the month. Probably none by the end of the year. Well, if that's the case, I'm going to be getting out of it. Okay, let's see. Okay, do you think the BS today was due to options on IBIT coming tomorrow? Big money moves? Don't know. I have no insight into that, unfortunately. Let's see. Sauer says, I'm upset at Bitfarms because I hold a massive amount. Yeah, I hold the same. I hold a lot also. And that was all based on them giving guidance for this year, getting 21 exahash, all that stuff. Saw good growth, or great growth, actually. They want to compete to be like the top 5 miner there. That's fantastic. Great operations overall. They've paid down their debt. They've done all this stuff. It's like, okay, this thing should do much better. And then we get this. And then prior to that, we got all the crap with the board and Riot trying to buy them out and all this stuff. So it's been a tough one, definitely, for sure. All right. Okay. Let's see here. Seb, the Bitcoin mine comment was meant as an add-on from other previous message. Miners are useless, but how is BTC mined? I had to clear that up. Okay, thanks. Okay. You think Mara at 13 coming, which I was looking at chart and was thinking this last week. I don't know. Mara, and I mean, why would you think it would go down to 13? I mean, 13 is like the bottom of the Fibonacci retracement level here. If you look at it, I think, is that what kind of we're looking at here? I think that's around, it's 14 and a half that I have it here. 13, I don't think 13 would be way below that. We did get to that here. I think that was the bottom, possibly. I don't think so, unless Bitcoin actually goes down to like 80,000 or something like that. At that point, we could come down on it, but I don't think so. All right. Okay, question. Why do gaps need to be filled? They don't always have to get filled, but historically, I would say a large portion, like over 90% of them, do get filled. We do have a gap on Bitcoin, or at least we had a gap on Bitcoin from the prior cycle. That was in, I think, 2020, where there was a gap on the CME futures between like 20,000, 22,000, and that didn't get filled until we were coming back down in Bitcoin in 2022. So gaps can be out there, but usually the gaps like to get filled because there's usually something that the investors or investment firms did not anticipate. So they had some either outstanding positions there, right? They want to close or short or whatnot, and they want to bring those things back down and get those things filled. So that's kind of why we see those. All right, here. SH says, Seb, I'm not confused. I think you should listen to Bitfarms conference call and Anthony's interview with Ben and pay close attention to Ben's wording. All right, I will. I'll do that. If I have a little time, I'll definitely take a listen to it again. But I was not getting the impression that they are looking to grow as much as you're saying. Okay. Okay, let's see. $10 Bitfarms at 180,000 isn't worth the risk for that return. The 5x for me would be great. Anything like a 2x plus is great. Anything above that is just bonus. Try getting that in the regular market. All right, let's see here. Ed says, hi Seb. Yes, Ben said there is plan to grow to 50x, but none of the hosts took him seriously. Okay, I must have missed that then. Also, CFO has confirmed that there is a deal to be announced before the end of the year. Yeah, I heard that, and I heard that on the conference call as well. But what kind of deal is it, though? That's the big thing. Is it a $5 million a year deal, or is it a, $50, $100 million deal, which I think they're going to need for that? Plus, I would say. Let's see. All right. Okay, I think I've caught up to all you guys' questions here. It seems like. Okay. Yep, I've caught up to all you guys' questions here. So, all right, we'll see what happens tomorrow. We got a lot to talk about tomorrow. We got the options happening tomorrow as well on the ETFs. So we'll talk about that, and we'll see whatever else happens here. I don't know who else is reporting tomorrow. Bubble covered for sure. We'll get into it. And today we went a nice 1 hour long, so that is awesome. I'd like to keep it at an hour at least. At that point, I think it makes it pretty fun. But all right, what am I going to say? The only thing I can say is, like I've been saying, is be patient. We are still very, very early in this cycle. We're getting to that point where we should start seeing things increasing much, much more faster and higher than we anticipate them to do so. If it doesn't happen, by, I would say, the next 2 to 4 months, then we'll have to reevaluate things. But I think we are just right on the cusp of getting into that nice rise. All right? Be safe out there. Don't do anything stupid. Right? Just be patient. Love you all for coming. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right. Bye.